Yo, what's going on, guys? I had a request to do a video on Hive, and I'm not 100% sure if this is the video that, if this is the exact ticker that he was requesting, and I kind of hope that I'm in the right area here. But, I kind of was just taking a look at this thing just to see what I could figure out here. So, hopefully this is the right one, otherwise I'm just wasting time here, but that's all right. So this is Hive Blockchain Technologies. So you can see basically kind of what's going on here. We had a triple top up in this range here, really. We came up and hit this 723. We made a little bit of a lower high here, and then another lower high here at $7 there. So that's going to obviously be of confluence here. So, me coming into this chart, there's a couple different ways that I could draw it. Obviously, I saw this recent wick here that just came up and touched some sort of resistance, whether it's just a resistance of this area here, because you can see here when we got an hourly close below this, well, this is a 4 hour, but we got a 4 hourly close below this level. It caused a pretty good size, drop here, actually dump. I guess you could call it a dump here, right? And then, so that's going to be an area to keep in mind. Looks like that comes to roughly, it's not hitting it to the exact dollar, but roughly 636. And, as of right now, you can see the support down here is roughly 445. So there's a few different things that you can see in this chart here. Obviously it's had a beautiful run up, so has Bitcoin. Now normally in these type of patterns here, this to me is more of a descending triangle, so that's actually a bearish pattern. Now a bearish pattern doesn't have to break down, and I do like this beautiful run up here that it had as well. So, it could look more like a pennant and whatnot too, but from everything I've ever heard is that a flat bottom is a bearish pattern. Now, we had this double bottom here, right on this 443, 445 area here, and then we came back down again and tested it roughly 452, 447, made a little bit of a higher low there. So, maybe it's not exactly flat, so still could be, could be okay. Just in my opinion, I would keep a stop loss below this this level here, maybe at like 425 or for something like that, maybe 425, just to protect yourself from any unwanted movements down. And then you can see today it looks like it had a nice little probably a rising channel. If you wanted to do like some really like smaller moves here, you could, say that this here was the first pattern here that it created, and then it broke this area here. If we went to the hourly, you could probably see it clearer, right? So you had your nice little initial breakout here. Then you had the candle here, the hourly candle here that kind of closed above it, and then right here, your volume isn't massive, but it's fallen off a little bit. But you could have potentially put an entry in right here, and then looked at your chart and been like, all right, so we could come up to this point here. This was an old resistance, and then sell it there. So you'd be entering somewhere around 521 and selling it somewhere around 630 or so, right? That's kind of how I would have played it personally. And then until we got some type of hourly close and confirmation above 641, I would probably just kind of continue to play this what's going on here. So that doesn't mean we have to come all the way back down here, but if I sold my position here, I probably would be patient and wait for potentially to be able to buy somewhere down in this range here again. Now, it doesn't have to come back down there, And as of right now, it kind of looks like it's maybe creating like maybe a small falling wedge or something like that. But trying to see, it could be a small falling wedge that could go either which way. So that could be a potential play here, depending on if it wanted to break up or not. But in my opinion, I don't think it's worth the risk to try to enter this little thing and play it up to here. So for me personally, I would just sit here now if I did sell that, and I'd sit and wait and let it come all the way back down here, and then maybe I'd put a buy order somewhere around this wick here, maybe 550, 554, or if you want to catch maybe exact bottom, 549, something like that. And then I would enter that, and then I would just put my stop loss below 426 and just kind of continue to do that in this consolidation while it bounces around in here until you get to your apex here. So we can look at it a couple different ways here, but there's two different ways that it can go. And I'm not saying this isn't going to be an exact target. I can look at some fibs here, but say you broke out somewhere in this range here, which is roughly March 9th or so, right? March 9th, March 10th, something like that. You could look at a move here. So you could play this breakout. Say you were coming up here, this thing could round off here or double bottom, whatever it does here. I can't tell you the future. But say that, you get some falling action here, and then you start coming up here and you start getting ready to break. You could put an entry here around an hourly close somewhere between 580. I mean, the breakout resistance, if it was in this exact point here, is 564, 573. You could do an hourly close confirmation with some large volume coming in here, but you just have to know that when it gets to the 637, that's going to be some pretty harsh resistance there. So for me, I would probably do your hourly close confirmation above here. So if you get a nice spike up here, candle closes above, wait for the following candle. If the following candle can maintain, keep an eye on it. No need to rush. Keep an eye on it here. And if that one closes above this trend line here, then your next candle, you could enter it and then just put your stop loss down below, somewhere down here, and take that chance. So your breakout there, your targeted breakout there is 845, but then your second line of resistance here now would be this old all-time high here, which is at 727. So then that's going to be your next resistance that you have to get above there. So, I mean, you could do it a couple different ways as well, but is it really worth it? Not really. If you entered here at 637 and then took profits here and then re-entered above. So you could enter here and just put your stop loss down here and then kind of wait and see what happens here. But obviously you would want to definitely put in a long if you can get an hourly candle close above this long-term, because it's a breakout, a blue sky breakout potentially, if it can break its old all-time high. That's usually how it goes. So you'd want to look for that as well. And then, worst case scenario, this is probably an overstretched target here because there's definitely going to be some support down below. But if you did obviously break down negative here, which I can look at, I don't think it's going to do that, but say it does, you never know. You're looking at $1.48 or $1.58 breakdown, but you also have some pretty significant support above here. So, you should catch some nice support down there. If you were to break down, you should catch some nice support somewhere between this 351 and 320 level if in fact we were going to break down negative. So if I look at the daily here, as of right now, it actually looks like you got a nice, for now, you got a nice little daily bounce here, but you are starting to roll a little bit. So it's probably just going to come back down here, potentially. But if you do get a breakout here, the targeted breakout there, or the targeted support area that you want to get an hourly close is that's still that 642 here. So, that's something to just kind of keep in mind here. And then if it was an even bigger move here, because we can always look at some exaggerated action, if this was in fact like a bull pennant or something, and I'm looking at this a little bit wrong here, then you would be looking at a targeted move here, depending on if you were to break out, say, somewhere in this part of the apex here. Your targeted move up here would actually be 992. So, that's kind of where you're at here. And this is kind of the old, almost looks like a nice little pennant here that it broke out of as well. So you can kind of see how this played out here. So if we take a little measured move of this pennant, let's see if the target matches up or not. So that would be your breakout there. And obviously it went a little higher than our breakout, but breakout was 573. So, and then it ran up to here. So that's kind of where it's at. I mean, it looks like it has some good power. It's in a nice uptrend, and it doesn't really seem like it's trying to, at the moment, trying to break your uptrend or anything like that. So, I mean, that's always a good thing. Let's see. You can sometimes I like to do this as well, where, in case that we do get some kind of breakdown, you can see what this is usually what I use is like it's a primary trend line here of basically where it loves to come back and test, or if it does fall out negatively out of any type of pattern of any sort here, this is a great area of buying opportunity because this is kind of the trend that it's at. So if we got rid of those there and say that something terrible happens and you get another double top rejection here and it decides to dump here, this is going to be very good support right here, which is a rising support. So depending on if this continues sideways or rolls down, whatever, this is going to be of confluence right here, and it could land anywhere depending on how this works out. I mean, if this is going to be another, I can't really call it you could potentially call it a bull flag, I guess, but it didn't really so far get to the top here. But if you were going to look at it as potentially a bull flag, another bull flag, then you could look at it kind of like this here. But the only reason I'm saying it could not be is just because of this resistance that you found right here so far. But if this does just kind of continue up here over the next few days and then gets resistance here and gets rejected and comes back down, catching support here again, then now all right, now I got something cooking here that I can figure out. And then that would be very good because obviously then you can be looking at this as a bull flag. So that's kind of where it's at right now with this smaller data that I have here. I can't really call an exact pattern there with the few candles that you have, but for now that's kind of where I'm looking at. But obviously you did have a weekly double top here, which means that this is very, very strong resistance. So it's going to take some consolidating here before even doing anything like that. And then also, now that I'm looking on the weekly here, you don't have any red TD9 flashes or anything, but something to consider is that you are very, very oversold here, or very, very overbought here. This is very overextended, and on the weekly. So as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to drop or anything. it looks like it's rounding up here, but it could come back up and test this resistance potentially again. And if it does, then you have to be cautious of a potential triple top there as far as like the wicks. And then keep an eye on this RSI as well. So, because if it did want to correct here, because if we're looking at it like this, we don't have bearish divergence yet, but obviously, your strength dropped a lot. So, I mean, a lot can happen over the course of the few days here. It looked like the MACD was coming down to cross negative here, and then you ended up getting a nice bounce here, which is a good sign because you're not going to cross negative, so it might be trying to come back up to test the top there again. But even with that, if it does break through this resistance here, or support here, 439, then it could drop down to this trend line at 357, or depending on when this happens or if this happens. So that's kind of your play there. If you're already invested in this, you've been in since down here, then you would just kind of be wanting to keep an eye on this 723 level to get that confirmation above. And I think that's pretty much all I can say for right now. I mean, obviously right now it created bearish divergence on the 1 hour here, so it's definitely coming down here. You can see that the price is higher on the right than the left right there, and obviously it's getting affected by that, even though, well, it's not really actually bearish divergence quite, but it's just kind of emming out a little bit. So you're going to have your support short term potentially right here. It's 533. So, I mean, it really depends on what this wants to do. Maybe it's creating a little small inverse head and shoulders here that's going to break up, and it's going to try to round up here. But for the most part, it's just consolidating in here. So I would just kind of keep an eye on those levels, and you could enter a trade if in fact you were to get an hourly close above 725. And if you're already in this thing and you entered somewhere down here, then you would just keep your stop loss down here below this 425. And I mean, that's pretty much all I have for you right now on this thing. So, I mean, I'll keep it on my radar as well, because if I do see it getting any type of closes above here, I might take a little, maybe I'll take a little swing trade on it myself. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Just keep your stop losses tight, and if you entered something way down here, then you would just keep your stop loss somewhere below this longer term, or below this area here, depending on what your entry price is. So yeah, that's all I got for you. All right, peace.